Greetings and Happy New Year! Mr. Smock is back for another review, talking about Star Trek Discovery today with local Trekkies, Thomas and Mr. Engineer. We will be going into some discussion of the 10th episode of Star Trek Discovery Season 1. The episode is titled Despite Yourself. It takes place after a lengthy winter break, which ended at the cliffhanger for episode 9, which is titled Into the Forest I Go. So, Trekkies, what are your impressions of Star Trek Discovery up till now, to the mid-season break before today's episode? I remember Mr. Engineer, back in September, he was telling our audience here, please watch with an open mind. So how open has been your mind?
Okay, if I were to say from the point of view of the traditional Trekkies, they'll be still pissed off, right? Everything is going against the way. But if I were to see from another set of open eyes, like a new fan, this is getting really more interesting, right? It's getting momentum, it's gaining the steam, and the latest episode we saw, episode 10, it was directed by Jonathan Frakes.
Number one from the Next Generation, for those of you who are not so familiar. He of course also directed many other episodes from the Star Trek franchise, including 2 movies, First Contact and Insurrection. Thomas, how about your impressions of Discovery up until the mid-season break?
I will say that, as I mentioned before, it's a refreshing break from the traditional way of Star Trek storytelling, in which the characters are not exactly as perfect as one would have expected. Each of them have good side and dark side. Even so some of them are, and some of them have like certain secrets which, as of today's latest episode, will make you wonder whether there's more to them than meets the eye.
That sounds like a catchphrase of another franchise.
But as you can see, as you go along, it's actually going slightly darker, and more secrets are being shown to us. It reveals what are the characters are into and all that. And there's so many potential cliffhangers just from this episode alone.
So do you both think that this is actually how the modern day format of storytelling takes place? You have to keep everything super secret. It is not episodic arc that every episode in the season progresses an overall story arc. And of course, in this era of social media and internet, there's an explosion of talk and discussion following every other episode. This was not in the scenario certainly 10 years ago with the last Star Trek series. Enterprise probably contributed to it. Going on air, people talk about it on forums, message boards, and perhaps you were all in those.
Yes.
But certainly not as much the explosive power of social media as it is today.
Yes, that's true. Even though in the past there's whenever there's a new episode come on, and there's many discussions on, I don't know whether people still use, I mean back then they used this thing called Usenet and forums and stuff. Nowadays with social media, and especially with a lot of clickbait worthy websites, they are all there to latch on to the hype of the show, especially for a show that even for me as a long time Trekkie, I regard it as a very good progression in terms of the Star Trek franchise, and it makes me want to know more. And having said that, there's a lot of people who take this opportunity to share awareness, and then to fan certain theories that's been dropped in terms of hints, especially if you watch the 9th episode, the so-called cliffhanger episode before the current one. In episode 9, there are a lot of elements, a lot of scenes when you actually sit down and watch the show. The thing is that all of these little things actually make you start to think what exactly are the motivation of some of this character. What do they mean by certain things? Like, for example, in episode 10, today's episode.
Let's get into it. Alright, no
Yes.
problem. Let's just go straight into episode 10, despite yourself.
Yes. All right. So in episode 10, if you remember the chief engineer in his ramblings, he was talking about the palace, and there was no indication at any point what he actually means by that. But as we delve deeper into that into today's episode, you'll see that when they review more of the current universe that they are stuck in, then it becomes apparent that you start to think that maybe there's more about what he has experienced, that you want to find out more. So you're thinking, okay, let's catch the next episode. Let's see whether there's more to it then. So
Yes, I overlooked sending a big message about spoiler warning. If you have not watched the 10th episode, despite yourself, it's somewhat dangerous to listen to our discussion here. Of course, it is also somewhat dangerous to browse social media, because even prior to the episode, on very innocent browsing on YouTube, I already see headlines which are somewhat semi-spoilers of the episode. Hence the days that we live in. So, Mr. Engineer, what have you got to think?
Well,
Without spoiler,
No
we
spoiler,
are
no
in
spoiler.
no spoiler. We can't discuss further without spoiling this.
Okay. Okay. To be frank, right, I've heard of the mirror universe in all the Trek series, but actually I've never seen one yet. So this is actually technically my first mirror universe episode, and I can see it's pretty interesting, right? So I mean, people are not who they are supposed to be. They are literally the opposites of themselves, and the explanation why certain people are here and not there, right? The first half an hour was okay for me, but suddenly I just realized why I'm getting so dizzy watching it. Right? It could be Jonathan Frakes' camera work, but once I got it, I was really distracted until Eric stops and said, "Oh wow, this is a very, very nice episode."
It was certainly maybe a choice of the directing the photography style.
Yeah.
Perhaps they found this new gadget on set which allows you to keep spinning the camera around 360 degrees of the cast, which we watched it on, well, not a minuscule small screen, it was a reasonably sized screen, but if you could imagine that it was on a full-size cinema screen, Mr. Chow, Mr. Engineer, may have needed that sick bag.
Yeah.
But getting back to the Mirror Universe, just as like
Mhm.
Mr. Engineer, if you have not seen the previous Mirror Universe episodes, they are all available on Netflix from every season, every series.
That's what I wanted to say.
It makes a good basis on comparison.
Yes.
But resounding off it, this episode may of course relate to events which happened in the Mirror Universe, and since this is a prequel to the original series, the events that we previously saw in the Mirror Universe were from the Enterprise episodes in the Mirror Darkly, which contained the Terran Empire and contained the, I think, named ship they were talking about, the Defiant, which was a Constitution class starship, somehow jumping back into that Mirror Universe in the era of the Enterprise series, which took place 100 years before the original series. In this case, 90 years before the events in Star Trek Discovery.
Yes.
That's a bit of Trek trivia for those who may have overlooked that.
yes.
But overall, conspiracies, underlying fan theories, and yes, somebody died today.
Yeah.
Mm,
And three of us, we already know who's the emperor, but we're not going to tell you.
oh, the Emperor could be anyone, but yes,
We
no,
may
no spoilers.
fans speculate until actually we should give a speculation, and then if it's proven correct, then we win temporal points.
Well, the Emperor could be a Malaysian for all we know.
No. Could be the Irish guy.
Giorgio, what is his name? We've said it first. If that's proven correct, we deserve some temporal points next week.
Or cookies.
But definitely not a slap in the face.
So how about the other conspiracy theory? We certainly see much more detailed hints about Ash Tyler's background and apparent subterfuge and alterations.
Yep.
It is kind of proving that a certain fan theory may be correct.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting if that proves to be correct, because that story arc was very interesting.
And this fan theory being, just to fill in the viewers who may not have heard, this is the fan theory that Ash Tyler is actually a Klingon which was modified to a human, and that Klingon being the albino Vogue, which has been sorely missing for many episodes.
Yeah.
Wonder why. How about Captain Walker? He certainly seems to have secrets.
Yep, he does have a secret. There was a theory as well from him not being in the original universe, right? And in the mirror universe, is described him as disappeared or killed, but without the body being recovered. So could Captain Walker be who he is?
We've certainly had characters traveling from the mirror universe into the prime universe before in other series, so it's not some advent which is inconceivable. But I like to think that with every episode there's new hints on all these stories about Ash Tyler, and now of course perhaps part of the mix or not part of the mix, they've been thrown in the mirror universe, which obviously makes fun storytelling. I think especially fun was Captain Tilly.
Yes.
That was a light moment for the episode. So there are now just 5 more episodes in this first season of Star Trek Discovery. Thankfully, season 2 has been confirmed. What are your predictions? For one, I think the Mirror Universe story as it goes should probably be a 2-parter, and then they return or they progress what is perhaps the overarching plot. There is still a time bomb ticking that essentially they need to rush back to the Prime Universe because their cheat codes against the Klingon cloaking technology has not been transmitted to Starfleet Command to be disseminated to the rest of their fleet against the Klingon invasion.
Yeah, and not to mention that the other Discovery is nowhere to be found in the Mirror Universe. So
that is most interesting, yes. And remember in the original series there was actually this transporter accident which swapped Captain Kirk with Mirror Universe Kirk, and in this case an entire swappage of a starship. What could that mean in the Prime Universe? Any last words? What are your predictions, fan prediction? What would you like to see in the last 5 episodes of this season?
Well,
personally, I think for all Malaysians, we would like, of course, see Tan Sri Michelle Yeoh return as Philippe Georgia in whatever form. Even as a flashback, I think that would be interesting.
Yes.
But it also shows with the death of a certain doctor this episode, like other modern franchises, should we say Game of Thrones, anyone can die in Star Trek Discovery. Everyone's up from the chopping block as a part of the storyline. Unlike the very traditional Star Trek where none of the men quit, which whoever dies.
Yes.
Unless they choose to exit the series.
Not even with Steve Crusher, but okay, let's not get into that. Yes, but having said that, I would like to say that this current Star Trek series Discovery does have a lot of firsts in more ways than one. So I would like to recommend that for those of you who have not actually watched it due to reservation whatsoever, please start watching it. You will be surprised. And like what we said earlier on, you must watch it with open mind. If you do, I think you'll be most entertained, and I think in many ways the series still stays close to the franchise.
Yeah, I agree with Thomas, right? But as the more it progresses, you find that there are small little details, right, that brings you back to the original tracks, like sound bites, certain graphics and all that. So you still feel that it's there, but slightly weird off, right? Maybe no thanks to J.J. Abrams, right, when Smock came in. But tell it as it is, it's still Star Trek. So give it a chance.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Engineer. Thank you, Thomas. Star Trek Discovery is available in Malaysia via Netflix. A new episode airs in US every Sunday. For us in Malaysia, it comes online approximately at 3 p.m. on Mondays. So, with that in mind, peace and long life.
Live long and prosper.
Thank you for watching. If you like what we say, please subscribe to our channel, My Suspect Fan Outpost. Have a good evening.
Good night.